Good morning. I'm Eddie Muller. Thanks for joining me this week in Noir Alley. A lot of writers get credit for laying the groundwork of film noir. Guys like Dashiell Hammett, James M. Cain, and W.R. Burnett. But if there is one writer synonymous with noir, it'd be Cornell Woolrich. Under his own name or the pseudonym William Irish, his novels and short stories provided the grist for more films than any other writer in the genre. Woolrich had a gift, or maybe it was a curse, for conjuring wildly unpredictable and engrossing plots. They typically revolved around an innocent person caught in a dire predicament that spirals out of control, their fate decided as casually as a coin flip. Nobody worked that side of the dark street harder or more evocatively than Woolrich. Now, the flip side of that capricious coin flip was that his stories didn't always make sense. Woolrich tales had a tendency to start out compelling and end up confounding. But I ask, do your nightmares make sense? The world Cornell Woolrich created was about dread and desperation, panic and paranoia, fear and fatalism. And just like real nightmares, the conclusions were often less than satisfying. Case in point, today's film, Deadline at Dawn. Its premise is prime Woolrich. A man believes he'll be accused of murder and has only 6 hours, in the dead of night of course, to find the real killer. He enlists the aid of a few lonely, embittered night owls, and together they careen through the creepy city, seeking clues and encountering lots of strange, nefarious characters. Does it make sense? Not really. Does that matter? I say no. This isn't reality, it's a dream world, conjured by a frantic and frazzled imagination. Good enough for 83 spellbinding minutes, and that's good enough for me. Deadline at Dawn is also notable for being the lone feature film on the resume of renowned stage director Harold Clurman, one of the founders of New York's group theater and the director of such Broadway classics as Awake and Sing, Paradise Lost, and Golden Boy. Now, Clurman was a Manhattan native, so I'll assume he was drawn to Woolrich's after-hours vision of the sinister city. Clifford Odets, one of America's premier playwrights of the day, wrote the script as a favor to his colleague, and you will definitely hear his stagey voice ringing through Woolrich's more whispery storytelling style. Now, Clurman rarely talked about this film in interviews, speaking of it with disdain, if at all, which is odd given the intensity with which the story is told and the obvious craftsmanship that's brought to bear. Perhaps Clurman was hiding the fact that much of Deadline at Dawn was actually directed by William Cameron Menzies, the genius production designer who had a side career bailing out troubled productions. According to his daughter, Menzies refused credit on the film because he hated Harold Clurman and didn't want their names connected in any way. Now, whoever is most responsible for it, the film is a moody and at times slightly goofy concoction, a noir thriller filled with existential oration, most of it courtesy of Paul Lukas, as New York's most philosophical cab driver.
But how can you love a boy you've just met?
How can a casual passing stranger change your entire life? You'd be amazed.
Now be prepared for lots of coincidence and confusion, except for two dead certs. Nicholas Musaraka is a titan among black and white cinematographers, and Susan Hayward never looked better than she does in front of his camera.
You see, son, it's all right to live in a cocoon like this if you expect to be a butterfly someday.
She'd just given birth to twins, but watching her slink through the shadows of Cornell Woolrich's imagination, well, be still my art. From 1946, here is Susan Hayward, Bill Williams, and Paul Lukas staring down a Deadline at Dawn.